Okay, I have a problem, a polynomial 5n squared minus 17n plus 14. A is not equal to 1. So I'm going to do the product sum method again, but I'm going to add a third step because A is not equal to 1, which is grouping. So the first thing, my product, well, first thing, let's identify our A, B, and C. So A is 5, B is negative 17, and C is positive 14. So when I go to do product, this time I want it to be A and C. It actually was A and C before, but since A was always 1, 1 times C left you with just C. So if I multiply A times C, I get 5 times 14. So I'm looking for something that's going to give me a positive 70 when I multiply. And that could be two positive numbers, two negative numbers. I also want my sum, now that hasn't changed, it's still B, to be negative 17. So what are the factors of 70 that will give me a sum of negative 17? Well, let's go through the factors. 170, 235, 5 and 14, 7 and 10. Now, either both numbers are going to be positive or both numbers are going to be negative. So in this case, I'm looking for a negative 17. Negative 7 and negative 10 fit the bill. So negative 7 times negative 10 and negative 7 plus negative 10 will give me what I'm looking for. Now here's the third step that is different from before. It is the grouping step. Grouping. And actually I should say rewriting and then grouping. But we are going to rewrite this as 5n squared minus 7n minus 10n plus 14. Where did I get the negative 7n and the negative 10n? I got it from here. Now I'm going to do my grouping. Can I factor out anything from 5n squared and 7n? Yes, I can factor out an n. So that will give me 5n minus 7. And then for negative 10n plus 14, I can factor out a negative 2. And I will get 5n minus 7. Now, why did I do negative 2 versus positive 2? Well, the goal is to try to get common factors. And I noticed that there was a minus 7. And if I factor out a negative, I would have gotten a minus 7 there as well. That's why I chose the negative 2 versus just factoring out a 2. So now I can write this as n minus 2 and 5n minus 7. Okay, so question number 2. Let's do 5a squared plus 31a minus 28. Okay, again, the a is not 1, so a is what's in front of x squared, and I know they use the variable a, so try not to get confused here, sorry. And b is 31, c is negative 28. So I'm going to do product sum again. So the product will be a times c, which is 5 times negative 28. And 5 times negative 28 is going to give me negative 140. And I want two numbers that multiply to give me negative 140, but the sum is b, which is 31. Same two numbers. So what are the factors of 140? There are a lot of factors of 140. If you are still unfamiliar with this process, then you should be writing out all the factors. Once you get the hang of it, the expectation is you not to be writing out all the factors of 140. 1 times 140 gives you 142 and 70. 4 and 35. 5 and 28. 7 and 20. 10 and 14. Now, since I'm looking for a negative, one of them has to be positive, one of them has to be a negative. And if I go through 4 and 35, if I subtract that, I will get a 31. So if I make 35 positive, 4 negative, I have positive 31. If I multiply them, I get negative 140. So here, the next step, again, is not the same as when A was 1. We have to do this next step, which is rewriting and then grouping. So if I do the grouping for this, I'm going to write it as 5a squared minus 4a plus 35a minus 28. Now, let's see, what can I factor out? The first two terms, I can factor out an a. And if you're not familiar with grouping, watch the video on grouping. 5a minus 4 plus. Now, you notice like last time I factored out a negative 2 in problem number 1, but I noticed that this is a minus 4, so I'm going to leave that negative with that in that term in the binomial. So what can I factor out? Well, I can factor out a 7. 7 goes into 35a, 5a minus 7 goes into 28, 4. So I get a plus 4 and 5a minus 4. Okay, so 2a squared plus 5a minus 3. There are no factors that go into them evenly. So I'm going to do the product sum grouping method. So my coefficient of a squared is 2, so that makes a equals 2, b is 5, and c is negative 3. Again, I'm sorry that I used the term a, but this a is not the a squared that you see here. It's part of the ax squared plus bx plus c formula. So product sum, I am going to multiply a times c, which is going to give me 2 times negative 3. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me negative 6, but their sum is going to be b, which is equal to 5. So what are the factors of negative 6? Again, since it's negative, one of them has to be positive, one of them has to be negative. So we have 1, 6, 2, and 3. So if I make 1 to be negative and 6 to be positive, I will get positive 5 when I add them and multiply them, and I will get negative 6. So negative 1, positive 6, and negative 1, positive 6. So my next step is to do grouping. So grouping, I'm going to rewrite this as 2a squared minus 1a plus 6a minus 3. Then what goes into 2a squared minus 1a evenly? A, or what can I factor out? I'm left with 2a minus 1. And then for 6a minus 3, I can factor out a positive 3. I could do a negative 3, but that would not help me keep the negative 1 in 2a minus 1. So I am going to factor out a positive 3. And I'm going to get 2a minus 1, which is what I wanted. And then I'm going to write this as a plus 3 and 2a minus 1.